Yeah.
Be mindful of time and all that fun stuff. Awesome. Well, aloha mai kako o wau no o le aloha kaula. No moko kiawe mai au a kia po ai wau ma anei ma o le kona no le mahalo nui loa ia o ko apau no kia ako ko ana mai no kia kuka ana mena poe kauka hiki ke ho ola kuka ko ola no leila. Mahalo to all of you folks. My name is Lei. I am part of Kahalahu o le Kona Hawaiian Civic Club, as well as a side team. I'm a side support team of HHAPI with this crew, this incredible crew out here today. Definitely a fan of Dr. Kaimi Sinclair, so we mahalo her and always uplift her name for this incredible program that we have through HHAPI. This is the third talk story with these incredible physicians of our Pacific Islander communities, just sharing their mana'o. As we all know, as Pacific Islanders, we always feel more comfortable when we're able to speak with our people who understand us and who understand our background. So we mahalo them and having them to be here this evening. Okay, there we have everybody jumping in. So again, we are very excited to have Dr. Fui, Dr. Ao, and Dr. Sells with us tonight to share their mana'o or their knowledge on important health topics impacting our people. So if we can ask all of you folks, if you can just please hold your questions until the Q&A time towards the end. And also just if we can be mindful, because we're still in this Zoom world, of our microphone. Sometimes people like to put their microphone on. So if you can stay muted unless speaking. And so again, and just be mindful of their time and their Ike. So we're just gonna kick it off, and we're gonna actually tonight hand it off to our doctors to kind of give a little bit of their background. We have, we've all heard about the great work that they did, but if they can kind of share with us their mana'o and just their pilina to all of this work. So I guess we can start with Dr. Fui, if that's okay.
Aloha and talofa everybody. Dr. Malik Fuiamaono, Samoan, born in California, but I was raised in the islands. I spent some time in New Zealand as well, so kia ora to people in New Zealand. But I'm here in Washington State. I'm a hospitalist, so I'm a doctor who takes care of patients in a hospital. I'm also currently the medical director of our group. But I love giving back to the community. I'm always an island boy. You can take a boy away from the island, but you can't take the island away from the boy. So always happy to come and answer any questions from the community. Yeah, always happy to be here. Thank you. Mahalo.
Mahalo. And next we will go to Dr. Ao.
Sorry, I was trying to get the button and it took me out of Zoom. Anyway, sorry I'm late. I was working late and anyway. So my name is Kavehi Ao. I'm born in Hawaii. I'm Hawaiian and Maori and Chinese and Danish. I'm a lot of stuff. I am an internal medicine and pediatric physician. I just switched from being a hospitalist like Dr. Fuiamaono, and now I work in a clinic, which is a big change for me. So I'm still learning a lot, but I enjoy it. Yeah, and I have 2 little girls and a husband. Thanks. Oh, man.
Mahalo. We'll move over to Dr. Sells.
Hey, aloha mai. So I'm Namela Sells Hekekia. I just got married in the last year. And so I am a family medicine physician, and most of my career I practiced in community health centers in Hawaii, so Big Island, and then on Oahu, West Side and North Shore. And then a couple of years ago, I made a career switch and I'm in academic medicine. And now I'm teaching at Nordic College of Osteopathic Medicine, and just very passionate about helping underrepresented minorities. And I have 4 kids. Well, 5 now, so and happy to be here.
Mahalo nui loa to all of you folks. I know you folks all have busy schedules and just taking this time out to share with us and spend time with all of us. So We'll just jump into it, if we could. So tonight's discussion will focus on the importance of health and wellness during all life stages, starting with Keiki, our youth, our Opio, questions, and ending with a focus on our kupuna, our elders. You are all important part of the support system of our ohana. In HHAPI's classes, HHAPI stands for Healthy Hearts Among Pacific Islanders. You learn how to support health and wellness by learning how families can be active and eat well together. If you are pre-diabetes, diabetic, have diabetes or hypertension, or know someone that does, we're here to help, and we'll have more information at the end of the webinar. So according to child health data, over 28% of our youth aged 10 to 17 years of age in Hawaii were identified as overweight or obese. Childhood obesity is a serious medical condition that, if left untreated, could lead to other health challenges such as diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and depression. Improving a child's diet and exercise habits is one of the best things that can be done in order to combat obesity, as well as protect the health of the child now and in the future. So to our doctors tonight, why does obesity impact Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander children so greatly? Whoever would like to start.
Maybe you can call on us so that
I was gonna say, I was like, or I can call, I saw Namea, Dr. Sells took her mic off first, so I'll reach out to her first. And so again, the question, so why does obesity impact Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander children so greatly?
I think that this is a hard question because there's so many things that come into play. And a lot of the things go way back for years and years and years, and starting with westernization and urbanization of our people. And that completely changed our lifestyle and what we do. And instead of working the land and being very active and eating from the land, we changed. And now we're in a society where we're much more sedentary. And so that kind of has come into play, and then we've lost a lot of our culture. And so there's a lot of, I think, structural inequities and history that have happened to our Native people that have kind of led us to this obesity epidemic. And just practicing in the islands is that access to healthy foods and safe places to exercise. And it's hard when parents are working so hard just to make ends meet that they're not around. And we say, get them into sports and get them into these different things, but time becomes the limit, and trying to get them there when you're working and trying to balance everything, it's a little bit difficult.
No, mahalo. Would anybody else like to add to that? Awesome. Okay, so I just to kind of say, go ahead, Dr. Fuyo.
Jump in though. I totally agree with Dr. Sells. But I think the question in particular to our kids, right? Not every other race's kids, but yeah, we've seen this, right? Our kids, if you look at the school pictures, right? The Pacific Islander kids are the biggest one, though. And we ask why, though. And it leads to the diet that we feed our kids, though. But the diet we feed our kids is the diet our parents feed us. So it's been generation of eating unhealthy food from, McDonald's, all the junk food, though, because these are the cheapest one. Organic healthy food are really expensive right now. Unless you live in an island, though, that's the preferred, way that we eat, though, but it's all free from the land, though. But here in the U.S., though, if you look at certain zip codes of areas in different states, including state of Washington, where I live, though, if you live around Tacoma area, SeaTac area where the Islanders are located, there's always some sort of couple of fast food. People have resources from the government, but, when they go out to use this funding to buy food, though, they always go for the cheap one. And usually those ones are unhealthy ones. And, it's a recurrent theme, though, that our or people are eating diet that are really unhealthy though, but not to blame them though, it's because it's the only cheapest option that have available to us, right? And also, you know, as a doctor who sees a lot of the kids who turn into adults, I'm an adult doctor, most of this habits causes them to be obese when they grow up though. Not knowing about healthy alternatives to food, not exercising. So a lot of them end up on with diabetes, heart attacks, they end up on dialysis. So it's sad though, but you know, if you look at other races though, you know, the Caucasian, people who are, you know, live in nice neighborhoods, they have good access to healthy food. And, you know, sure enough, though, those people grow up and, you know, if you look at the different races, though, we're lacking behind, you know, the lifespan of other Caucasians as well. You know, if you look at all the data and you ask why, though, because again, we're repeating, history is repeating itself unless we have a, you know, revolution of us agreeing though that this is a problem and we talk and find solutions about it, maybe enforcing us to go back to the land, growing our own food. But it takes a village, right? It doesn't take one person to do that. So that's why like we have this program, and I love coming back to the community because this is where the work gets started. And hopefully people are listening to us though. We are doctors that look like you. When we say things, though, we're not saying it out of science or for other reason other than we are giving back to our community the knowledge that we have so we could help our people. Because the thing is, though, medication could go so much, though, but if we start with the right lifestyle, right diet, none of you guys will end up on any medications, though. You don't have to come in and see me inside the hospital. Most of you guys will be healthy, but talking about basic stuff like diet, exercising, and food, I feel like it's the message that we want to send everybody. So hopefully that helps, because I'm not a pediatrician though, but I do see the kids who are older now. So but thank you for that one. That's a good question.
And it's a good segue into, because I'm hearing that, you know, from you folks, that one of the things that we have, you know, this is also a generational problem, right? Like we're seeing it being passed down. And when we look at our ancestors, like the way that they ate, you know, and their relationship to land is such a huge part of our culture, right? As far as who we are. And so it's also hard for us when we're here on the continent to be able to do that. So hearing you folks say that's something that we have to think about going into community is very important. And yeah, I agree with you folks. I hope everybody's listening. The next question, I think, just being here on the continent, maybe we might not be able to do everything that we could culturally at home, but is cooking and preparing meals together, you know, as a family, something that you folks see that's important and probably could be an impact on this? I don't know if Dr. Al, you like take this one, or
Every time I push the button, it like minimizes Zoom. So I'm like, oh, anyway, sorry. Yeah, that's actually very important. Children are more likely to try and eat healthy foods if they're involved in choosing them. So, you know, when they go shopping with their families and say, okay, what vegetables do you want to try this month or this week, and, you know, fruits, and have them help with the preparation of the meals, they're way more likely to eat it and start to enjoy it. Like the more you expose them to it, the more they'll eat it. And even, you know, it takes sometimes up to 10 times of being exposed to a particular food for a child to finally try it and eat it and learn to like it. So I think that's really important.
And just to kind of tag on it, it is important to make it fun. I think sometimes we get this stigma that eating healthy is bland and that it's gross and it's going to just taste like cardboard. But introducing them to a lot of different foods. And we know that the more exposure that kids have to a variety of foods, the more likely they're going to be more open to trying other foods into adulthood. And so it's starting by cooking and preparing together and teaching them those healthy habits. We're starting to teach them early. We're creating habits that are going to persist into adulthood.
Just want to make a comment, not specifically about the cooking, but sitting down to eat. There's a big pandemic on mental health diseases with kids, being lonely with the pandemic, and a lot of them are isolated. I feel like we need to go back to the family dinners. I feel like sitting down with your kids and ask them how their day is going, seeing them eye to eye at the end of the day, rather than everybody eating and then going to their room. I feel like that's something that we need to do, though. I know it's not a medical thing, but I feel like it's a ohana, it's a family culture thing that we need to go back to. Providing those time together, though, to see it as a family, and even saying a prayer to thank God for the day. I feel like that's something that's missing in our culture, but I think it's linked to what we're seeing with the mental health of our kids, though. Even adults, though, everybody's going through the pandemic and depressed, anxiety, and all this stuff. It's always good to kind of bring your family back together at the end of the day and celebrate and use, again, good food, just joking about the day and having fun. I feel like that's good for your health too, though. The mental aspect of your health is to, spend time with your family. So.
Yeah, mahalo for that. That was something I think you shared at our first talk, sorry, too, about that. And I was listening and, that's what I ended up doing with our family, and just like the difference you make, right? Because I think something that we noticed prior to the pandemic, we were also like, go, 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 go. And the pandemic made us sit down. And so even now it's like, it's nice because then, you get to hear the stories from your kids and just have that one-on-one or conversations with them. So mahalo for that. The first talk, sorry, you said that. And we started to try that, and we were like, oh, we missed doing that, because growing up, we got to do that a lot. So now we have to go back to that. That's just like the fundamentals, right? The groundwork. So mahalo. Another question we have, and maybe this is kind of getting away from meal or eating habits, but like, what are steps ohana can take to help their keiki stay active, healthy, and fit? Like, we know, like Dr. Fuiamaono was just saying about how, just simply having a meal together, but kind of thinking about like outside of the box, right? Like, what can we do together to like have a healthy family? Dr. Salz, I'll start with you.
It's what's already been shared, is we do it together. I think the first step is, as parents of kids, is we have to set the example. If we want our kids to have certain behaviors, we need to show them how. We need to get out there with them. And it's just getting to the park, letting them run around, letting them play, getting off of screens, and find things that you enjoy. Because exercising and being active is a lot more fun if it's including things that you enjoy.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. You're walking around the neighborhood, could be one. I always do that at the end of the day and try to grab any of my kids who are not, tired from the day, to kind of walk around the neighborhood, keep taking the breath air. The other thing too, though, I mean, my kids are in sports, though. That's something me and my wife agreed upon, that, especially in winter, though, with people not going outside, though, there's a lot of, my kids go to the YMCA, though, they do a lot of, different sports and different type of the year. I know maybe money might be an issue, though, but there are free ones out there, though, to involve your kids in. My son loves Oreo, but, I tell him, though, if you go practice or after a game, then you have a few Oreos. In that way, you can burn up, I know you burn out the calorie, and maybe reward him for doing a good job by giving him a little bit of things he like. But I think the key for kids is to kind of keep them active, though. I think a lot of them are using technology a lot. They're stuck on their social media stuff, so they don't get out of the house, though. But if you could put a limit on their time on electronics and get them outside, only for a few minutes in a day, though, I feel like that goes a long way, though. So again, you're the adult though. Your kids follow what you're doing, though. So you need to set the example though. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It could just be walking around the neighborhood, but doing things like that, I feel like goes a long way in creating those healthy habits with your kids. So
I agree. And I think they also learn by doing those things. And when you teach them about their body, how their body feels when they're active and how they feel when they're being inactive and how much more energy they have when they're sleeping well and they're outside exercising. And along with what Dr. Fuiamaono was saying, we walk our dog every night. And that's my daughter recently said, like, this is my favorite time of the day. And I was like, why? She's like, because we get to talk. So she loves that while we're walking, she gets to tell us all about her day, and our focus is on, listening to her and having that healthy family interaction as well. So I totally agree. Just getting out and doing whatever you can with your kids, mixing it up, having fun. We love being outside. So anything you can do to do that.
I just want to add though, me and my kids go out so we could talk behind my wife's back. So because we don't want her to hear all the bad things we say about her. So
we can all have different reasons for going out for a walk. The main thing, I think, is the walk part. So well, I think you folks hit on a lot of our next area. Just seeing, as we move on to the teenage years, recent studies have showed, especially since COVID, that they're struggling more than ever, especially girls. Isolation, online schooling, and increased reliance on social media has made things worse. Many struggle with sadness, depression, self-harm, thoughts of suicide, and other mental health issues. And so I don't know if, again, you guys are kind of already talking about this, but maybe if we can dive in a little bit more on maybe things that you folks are seeing, like why is social media so addicting to our teens?
So we found that social media is actually, it stimulates the reward center of the brain, and it stimulates a chemical called dopamine. And this is similar to how gambling and drugs affects the brain. And so there's this reward and this pleasure about staying on and going through social media and scrolling through everything. And the dangerous part is that adolescence, it's a time of growth and growth for the brain. And when we're on social media, we're starting to see that we're starting to get some rewiring, because they get this constant gratification. If I don't like something, I just swipe up or I swipe over, and I keep swiping if I don't like it, and then until I find something that I do like. And it's leading to these addictive and compulsive behaviors. And that can persist into adulthood. And studies have shown that more than 3 hours a day increases their risk for health problems. And like was mentioned, our females are actually at the highest risk. And then they get the low self-esteem, disordered eating patterns. They are worried about their body image, suicidal thoughts. And so we really have to be aware of that. And this is kind of what we've been talking about, is getting our kids off screens and getting them active and doing things together.
So mahalo. I was just leaving a space if anybody wants to add, because I know, but like I said earlier, all of you folks shared so much about this area as well. So, and mahalo for that information. I guess another question I could probably lean into, or if you folks could suggest, well, and already getting out there, being, having family time and basically reallocating time, right, is what we need to look like, really focus on how much time our kids are spending on social media. But what are the most effective ways you folks have seen to help build self-esteem in these teenagers, especially trying to fill them away from social media?
I think like what Dr. Fui was saying is putting them in sports, having them spend time with friends in person instead of just communicating via text or messenger, and just finding out what it is that they like to do and supporting that, and just making sure you limit their screen time. I think it's really being intentional about it. And, you'd be really tired from working all day and taking care of the family, and just like, let them kind of go off and not even know what they're doing. But if you are to, like, the iPhone actually will tell you like how many, an average day, how much time you spent on your phone. And if you think about how much, like if you spent that time cleaning or walking with your family or doing something fun with your family or exercising or like planning healthy meals, like there's so many better things you could do with your time in that like 2 hours a day or more that we're spending on our phones. And you notice that you'll sleep better if you're not on your phone so much, and you'll notice that your body will feel more energized, and when you exercise you feel stronger, and it really affects your mental health as well to exercise more and be on your phone less. So I'm all about being on screens less.
Yeah, I don't think you can stop them though, right? Our kids, this is their generation, and electronics and all this stuff is part of their generation, right? So the key is to limit how much time they have on it. But again, I think we mentioned this though, we need to set the example. So if they put their phone there though, you have to put your phone in there too though, whatever, lock it up as a family. But again, it's making sure that you put limits to certain things, and maybe rewarding them every once in a while. But again, like I said, though, I'm one of those guys who are advocating of not completely stopping it from the kids, because this is part of their generation thing that they do. And technology is not always bad though. Even social media has its good things. So again, exposing them and actually monitoring what they're looking at, and that way you could make sure that they're looking at all the right stuff. I know there's things to protect them, like some software, but I feel like we, as parents and as a community, we need to kind of make sure our kids are exposed to the right stuff, and that way they could grow up. As a kid though, I mean, the only thing I'm limited on is like cartoon on a Saturday. I always look forward to that. So the rest of the week, I don't have anything to look at. I'm just focusing on other stuff and sports like that. But again, healthy limits to what your kids are doing, I feel like it goes a long way though. So, but if you're having a kid who's really, really struggling to do that, then, ask for professional help though. Counselor and all that stuff. We don't always need to fix everything ourselves. So sometimes, our kids don't come with a manual though. So we need to ask for professional help sometimes from their school and from other parents who are dealing with the same thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's about limiting and not completely taking things away, because I feel like when you completely take things away, that's when they don't learn how to regulate on their own, and that's when they will binge as soon as they're out of your reach or hide it behind your back. So I think that, but also like teaching them about like the harmful effects and the good effects. My daughter, we made her, when she took over a year and a half to earn her Nintendo Switch that she just got this past Christmas, and she had to like write up a kind of like a report about all the good things about it and the bad things about it, and how she could what she could do to combat the bad things that could happen if she's using her Nintendo too much. So I agree with that completely.
And maybe just a few more things, and maybe lessons I've learned the hard way of raising kids and having a teenager that's now transitioning into the adult world. But I think it's engaging our youth. It's easy to say when they come home from school, it's like, oh, how was your day? But maybe think about asking them more specific questions. And that way you can try to engage them a little bit more, because if you just say, how's their day, they're going to ask and they'll be like, oh, I'm fine. And then they're going to go straight off into their room and go on to electronics. And so finding those moments to engage them, and you're going to find out more of their interest and more of what's going on in their lives. And something I've learned the hard way is to just stop and listen. And when that youth or the teenager is ready to listen, sometimes it's at 3 o'clock in the morning and all you want to do is go to bed. But when they're ready to talk, try and set everything aside and be ready to listen, because they're going to share things with you, and you're going to find out maybe what they're struggling with and ways that you can support them, or you're going to hear about their interests and things that you can get them involved in so that they can get off of that screen time and get involved, because the more support that they have around them and the friends that they have, that's going to help build them up and build that self-esteem for them. Well, and then I completely agree with Dr. Au, is empowering them. Because if you completely take it away, or if you lock it, guess what? They're really smart with technology, and they know how to get around all those locks, so they're going to find it, or they're going to get their friend's phone and go on social media. And so it's not taking it away, it's empowering them, helping them, having open conversations, teaching them what is appropriate use and what is not appropriate use. And then give them a little, as they earn your trust, give them a little bit more. And I found that when I gave a little bit of trust, my teenager was much more responsible with her use. When I said, I trust you, here's your phone, I'm unlocking it. And that made a world of difference for us.
Mahalo for that. Hearing your folks' stories and Manao is so refreshing, because having teenagers is rough. My oldest is a teenage girl, and then recently now we have the teenage boy, and social media has been rough, and they're always wanting to be, and that was one of my cousin. He was like, you cannot not give it to them. You gotta give in a little bit, and so that, because or else they're gonna do it behind your back, right? They're not gonna. But like you were saying, Dr. Sells, is like telling them, like, I trust you to make the right choices, and it builds with them too. And I think, some of our other questions you folks already hit on was like that, open communication, and it sounds like open communication is also part of a way of being healthy, and having healthy relationships with our keiki, our opio, allows them to continue to be healthy, because not being able to have open communication can also lead into so many other pathways. It's not just the food, right? It's not just food that keeps them healthy, it's all the other things. And so and mahalo for some of the resources. That was another question from Dr. Fui. He was saying about, you can reach out to the schools, to other professionals. Don't have to think you need to do it all on your own. So I hope everybody's listening, because they're telling us these things, and there's definitely resources out there. And so if you need help, you can always reach out to anybody and other makua. So mahalo for that. So charting into those waters, if you guys can just kind of share with us, like, how does stress impact our bodies, and can stress lead to illness?
So yes, stress impacts the body, and I can think of this as if you had a rock in your shoe, that's kind of like the stressor. And you keep walking, and that rock just stays there, and it's going to continue to rub. It's going to feel a little bit sore, but if it keeps staying there, eventually it might lead to a blister. And if you still don't take it out, eventually it can lead to a sore. And that's kind of what stress does. Stress actually causes releases of stress hormones in our body, and that persistent release actually is linked with what we call death and disease. And one of the areas where we've really looked at this is something called ACEs. So if anybody's heard of ACEs, it's adverse childhood experiences. And we found that kids who are exposed to these chronic stressors in life are actually at higher risk for chronic disease into adulthood, because it changes, in that exposure to chronic stress leads to chronic inflammation, immune dysregulation. And there's even some studies that have shown that it actually affects our DNA, or our genetic makeup. And so there are ways that we can counteract that, and we have to find releases to those stress, because if those continue to build and build and build, it does put us at higher risk for chronic disease.
Yeah, definitely stress has a link to a lot of these diseases. So again, not only does your body release the stress hormone, but it causes a lot of inflammation. It's almost like your body's reacting to a disease when you're under a lot of stress, though. So what happens is when those things are elevated in your body, though, then your body's not functioning well. I like the analogy of a stone there, but in the shoes, definitely, a little bit, it's not bad, but over time, it builds up though. And, there's a lot of diseases, depression, anxiety, not only mental illness though, but it does affect your body though. Again, mental health, your physical health, emotional health, or your spiritual health, all those are linked though. If one is not balanced, then you tip the scale though. One of the things, I just want to share though, I do see a lot of people with heart attacks in the hospital. And it's weird though, a lot of these heart attacks, if you look at, a lot of them happen on Monday morning. A lot of people are enjoying their weekend, and then the stress of going back to work though, a lot of them have attack around this time though. And if you look at the data as well around the holidays, even though it's a good time though, but a lot of people are having stress around this time of the year though. Not only that, but weather, right? A lot of people have more heart attacks in the winter time when it's cold outside. So again, it's not one thing, right? But it's like a combination. It's called multifactorial, right? It's a lot of factors though, causing disease processes. It's not just one thing though, but again, the more you get stressed out, and I told this to a patient, I said, if I found a bill to relieve stress, I'll quit my job because I'll be a billionaire, right? There's no magic bill out there though. Your solution to your stress, only you know it, right? Because you're the one who deals with that stress every single day though. I mean, you can go talk to a doctor and all that stuff, but it's a lot of self-reflection. It's knowing who you are, and then realizing though that most of the things we are stressed about is not really a big deal though. I feel like we all make it big in our head though. But again, talking to somebody about those feelings, and most of us, when we talk about what stresses us out though, afterwards, after talking about it, we usually feel better, right? So again, it's finding a group of people. You could be your tribe that you can go and relieve some of the stress. It could be a family member. And if your family is a reason of stress, I'm sorry though, you're stuck with your family forever, but but do exercises. When I'm stressed out with work though, I look forward to going to the gym, at least doing some sort of weight training, in that way, I'm stressing myself to lift that weight, but as a result of that, I'm relieving some of that tension I've been carrying with me all day, right? And then like cold shower, right? That really helps though. Try a hot shower or the ice bath that everybody talks about. I've tried it myself recently and really release some of that stress I'm having because the muscles are relaxed and everything like that. So again, there's a lot of resources. Again, stress, talking about it. If you're really, really having problems, talk to a mental health professional. I know the stress could cause mental health and then end up, you have suicidal thought, which is a really bad thing, Again, only you need to self-reflect and figure out who you are and what's going on and what's bugging you, Most of us are just really stressed out because of the environment we're in. But if we take time away from that environment and stressing us out, then, we usually deal with it. But, everybody's stressed though. You can't be human if you don't have going through the stress process. We all deal with all of that. So, but it's just a matter of finding the right people to support you and right help for yourself to deal with the stress. So.
I know the Q&A is at the end, but I guess there's a privilege of being the moderator. I might segue a little bit off of the question, sorry. Listening to what you folks are saying, especially with stress and all of that. I have a question. If we aren't able to talk with our families, and I feel like sometimes cultural, that feeling of identity, right, and cultural practices, like we want to reach out to for mental health or support in that way, but a lot of our Pacific editors, they don't see themselves in those spaces, so they tend to pull back, right, from going to those things. Do you folks have you folks seen, or do you see, or do you suggest that if community-based organizations, or just organizations like HHAPI, if we were to have like wellness circles or community circles just to come together and talk story and having a place to relieve stress? Do you folks, if you've seen that happen already, have they been beneficial, or do you think that this is something that would be beneficial to our communities? Sorry, that was an added question.
I know they have those groups here in Utah. There are some empowerment groups that they have within the Pacific Islander community, and a lot of the Pacific Islanders here in Utah are members of a couple of different churches where they meet together and discuss a lot of things, including like health and mental wellness. So I think, like Dr. Fui said, just find your tribe and find a group that you can be real with and who's supportive of you and that you can support, and talk it out. And there are a lot of, like, if you want to speak with a Pacific Islander mental health professional, there are a lot actually in the field. They're coming up with a list of them here in Utah. My husband's one. He's Fijian and he's a therapist. There are a lot, even at BYU, the university here in Provo, where I live, there's a Pacific Islander, like they call it Polynesian, Poli-Sci. They're specifically researching the psychology of Polynesians, and they are trying to recruit like more and more people, Pacific Islanders descent, into the mental health fields, because it's such a big, important issue for all of us.
I definitely agree though. If you look at diseases like alcohol, right? AA has shown to be really effective. That's where people partner up and have meetings where everybody there has the same problem, right? So in that way, they don't feel embarrassed. I feel like everybody's there to kind of get treated though. But if you're, honest with yourself though, and find people who places, spaces where you can be vulnerable and show your suffering, a lot of them connect with each other, right? Because they go through the same struggle. And, I feel like Pacific Islanders understand Pacific Islanders. I have to say that though, we're kind of different from other ethnic groups. I mean, we can hang out with them, but nobody understands us like ourselves, right? But finding spaces like that, I feel like, your local county or your where you live though. Even church organizations are really good though. But again, dealing with it yourself is not the way to go. Giving a risk of being vulnerable and going find a group to kind of connect with though, I feel like is always the right decision to help yourself. So.
And I think just thinking back to our people, we're a community people. We did things as communities, and your family just wasn't the people that lived in your house. It was, your family was everybody, and you brought people in. And so we have to recognize that that is a part of who we are. And so finding that family, finding that support group, we're drawn to people who look like us and that think like us. And so find those people that will encourage you and build you up. And, for Native Hawaiians, they had practices where they would come together. And if there was any pilikia or problems, everybody would come together and you would talk about those stressors and work those out so that you didn't have to continue to carry that stress with you day in and day out.
Yeah, I feel like there's a barrier there too, though. I mean, growing up in Samoa, though, there's always, this fear of people talking about us, though, so airing your dirty laundry, though, might be a risk, though. But I feel like as a community, we need to remove that, though. I don't know about Hawaiian community, but the Samoan are notorious for talking behind people's back, I remember going to church and this lady was like, oh, look at her, though, she's wearing that hat, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So we got to stop that, though. We are pulling each other down. We need to push each other up, though. As a community, that's how we're going to survive, though. We need each other to kind of say positive things and encourage each other rather than, talking a lot of things behind people's back. First of all, that's not Christian-like. We're all, go to church. So So make sure that, we empower people rather than pulling them down. So.
Mahalo for that. And, thank you again for allowing additional questions. Happy team too. Thank you. But mahalo for, just to remind everybody who's watching, and who's listening about the importance of community and how community is really uplifting. So mahalo to you folks. We have time for another question, then we're gonna have to start to segue into closing. But a question that we have here is, what are some symptoms of prediabetes that maybe folks could share, if anything, just so that our listeners can and be aware of?
It's just the same as diabetes though. So what are those? Being thirsty all the time, all of a sudden you want to drink water, even though you always like soda. That's a bad sign. Peeing all the time, even waking up at night to urinate, that's a bad sign though. Losing weight, not intentionally doing it. I'm saying this because I'm diabetic though. I went through the same thing though. Both my parents are diabetic, and thank God I was learning about medicine. Initially I didn't see the sign though, but I kind of knew it was though. For a lot of you guys who are, I think there's a lot of information about diabetes though. If you feel like you have diabetes, go and check yourself. Don't keep saying, maybe not. A lot of our people, even if you're doing all the right thing, you might have diabetes though. If you look at diabetes though, Pacific Islanders is in the textbook for risks. So whether you think you have it or not, if you're really curious about what's going on with your body, please do me a favor, go check though. The chances are, because if you're a Pacific Islander, you might be diabetic. And what is the best thing about diagnosing you early is that you can prevent you from being diabetic, right? That's their opening right there though. That your doctor or you could do extreme measures like dieting, exercising, and then, looking at what's going on with your habit, or maybe that's driving you towards diabetes. But it's very important though, because once you're diabetic, that's it, right? So there's a chance though that if people go and check early, no matter what the symptoms is, if you feel like you're having diabetes, go check it, right? Because some people might not have the symptoms until it's too late. So for Pacific Islander people though, go check your doctor, do a regular checkup. How we diagnose diabetes is something called A1C. It's a test that you do if you're over 6.5, you're diabetic. But if you're below that number, you're pre-diabetic, which is where the question is coming from. Being pre-diabetic does not mean, I'm good though. You are already having changes in your body though. Even though you're not diabetic, you're at risk of certain things as if you have diabetes. So it's a bad thing if you're pre-diabetic. Thank God you're not diabetic yet, but there's a really, really bad thing, So again, if, I don't want you to be focused on the symptoms, then you go check though. I think, like I said, Pacific Islanders is a risk factor. So if you suspect that something is going on, I'm always tired. Why am I drinking too much water? Why am I so moody? Go check. It could be something else, but chances are, if it's diabetes, we need to diagnose it. So your doctor could prescribe the right medication and actually counsel you. You're going to prevent you from going there. So again, everybody listening to this call, there's a chance all of us are diabetic, even though you're not diagnosed yet. In fact, though, the data are showing though that there's more people who are diabetic who are not diagnosed right now. So I think that's the advice. Don't focus on the symptoms. Just go check yourself. You might be able to be found to be pre-diabetic or on your way there. So it's always good to kind of find it early. Early is good though. Too late is not good.
Yeah, and keep in mind that sometimes pre-diabetics don't have any symptoms, but Pacific Islanders are higher risk. And so even if you don't check it, sometimes people are like, I don't want to check it because I don't want to know. But the problem is whether you know or not know, it's still there. And if we catch it early, there's things that we can do. We can intervene earlier and we can get you on a healthier path to prevent a lot of the complications that come from diabetes.
Mahalo nui loa for your folks' mana'o and your ike. And again, always insightful to hear from our people. Just like what Dr. Fuiamaono said, Pacific Islanders know Pacific Islanders. we know our people, and so we definitely mahalo. So just before we close up, I just wanted to share some information before we go into our question time. Again, our HHAPI crew is online. I'm sure you can see them. I'm sharing this flyer. That's the flyer. Okay. And looking at the team, the stuff flyer. If you folks haven't heard of HHAPI, please go to I Am Happy, go to the website.org. And again, the other benefit, this is prior to, I think just recently, right? It's pre-diabetes as well. This program is supporting. So we definitely want you folks to reach out. Here are the programs. Again, you can find more information at iamhappy.org. Reach out to the team, like Dr. Fuiamaono was just saying. Don't wait, do it now. Just why not? We are Pacific Islanders, and the only way to be healthy is that we stay ahead of it. So we wanted to share this information with you folks again. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Nicole, you can reach out to the whole team, and then we can navigate where you gotta go. This is what we're good at. So I wanted, again, just a huge mahalo to all of you folks. And if anybody on the call or anybody listening, we could check the Facebook. If anybody has questions at this time, we just have a few minutes. You can only have 30 seconds worth of questions. So if you're asking more questions, it might get pushed. Okay, this is good information. Mahalo. Oh, Auntie Patty, she's sending direct message. Excuse me. She said mahalo for your information. Yeah. Does anybody else have questions? Raising hand. Aole. Well, I guess with that being said, then maybe we can say, just do a mahalo. Yeah. So again, mahalo to all of you folks. Mahalo, Dr. Fuiamaono. Mahalo to Dr. Sells, Dr. Al for being with us. Mahalo for being our Pacific Islander support system and uplifting our people. Always, we continue to come together. So mahalo nui loa. Mahalo, most importantly, mahalo for your folks' time, because we know that you folks are so busy and giving us this opportunity to wala'au talk story with you folks. So again, mahalo to all of you folks. Mahalo to everybody who tuned in tonight. Again, iamhappy.org. Reach out to us, reach out to the team. This is a program that was created by Pacific Islanders. That is the key part to this whole program, is that, like Dr. Fuiamaono said, the only people we know ourselves the best. And this was created by Pacific Islanders for Pacific Islanders, so that together, not only are we just, thriving, we're thriving as a community. So join us, kako, everything you need. But with that being said, mahalo to all of you folks, and have a good evening. Aloha.